Jim Carrey is actually really famous for this, writing himself a check. This $10 million check that he wrote for himself, he put in a wallet and it was deteriorating in all the years. And he gave himself 3 years. And then actually right before the Thanksgiving 1995, he manifested $10 million. He found out that the movie called Dumb and Dumber actually was going to give him $10 million. And then he's obviously famous for the spiritual wisdom and his transformation that he made, and he's such a crazy, amazing, profound character in his career that he manifested the fact that with this such a interesting trick and then visualization and all the technique that he also talk about on social media and in other platforms, that we're going to dive in to the secret and know how we can actually learn from Jim Carrey and how he manifested $10 million from his career. Welcome to my channel. My name is Nemoto, and in this video we're going to talk about the Jim Carrey success and how we can actually utilize some of his secrets, some of his techniques to our daily life. I remember myself growing up with Mask, like the movie called Mask. I just loved it. I remember I watched that movie like so many times, and just every time we just saw it, it's so fucking cool. Anyway, here's clearly the one of the most charismatic actor in the world, you know, like outside of the movie. He's so charismatic that influence a lot of people, makes people laugh, and it's just so cool. I personally love that guy. So today we're going to talk about his manifestation, his mind, okay? The first thing, he's actually one of his interview, he said this, key number one, your eyes are not just the viewers, it's also projectors. Your eyes are not just viewers, it's also projector. So actually, visual information is one of the most powerful aspects in our life, right? We look at something and we believe it. That's why we don't believe something that we can't see. We tend to take things for granted if we cannot see it. But if we see it, we believe it so strongly. That's why a lot of people get stuck, right? Because what we see is the current reality. A lot of people get stuck, and a lot of people start comparing themselves to others. A lot of people start feel like I'm not good enough, because what they see is the reality. What they see is other people succeeding. What they see is the gap between my vision and then my current reality. So what we see is so powerful. We internalize it as negatively, and then that creates a lot of limiting beliefs, and we're going to basically sabotage ourselves. We are the one who's literally standing in front of us, holding us like, no, you're not going. I'm the limiting beliefs. I'm the enemy of yours, right? What do you mean by the projectors? So from scientific standpoint, when you actually focus on one singular point, which your eyes can only focus on one singular point, like your fingers right now, right? Try this with me. And then you can see that other vision is blurry, but your finger is obviously clear. If you try to see, analyze, observe the color around it, you can see it, right? While you focus on this singular point, you can see that there's different colors. Okay, I can see it. There's different colors. But what about the edge of your eyesight? Try this. And some of you might say, it's not that colorful. I recognize it. Or some of you say, like, yeah, I can see it. It's colorful. Either way, I'll tell you that is a false information. You know why? Because your eyes are constantly rapidly moving. We think that we're focusing on one spot, but your eyes are constantly rapidly moving to observe and process the visual information. And then your eyes actually only capable to see the color of where the eyes are focusing on. So in this case, you're focusing on the fingers. Everything else shouldn't be able to observe the color. So basically, your eyes cannot process the information correctly if the eyes are not focusing on that spot, which means the old assumption, your brain is showing what it's capable of showing you, it's just an assumption. So if you are only being viewers, which is like I determine my internal state based on what I see, you're being passive and submissive towards the reality. So there's no control, there's no effort. But we're talking about manifestation. We are talking about creating a reality. You, as a viewer, has zero control over. But don't get me wrong. I also experience my reality, right? I see the reality, but I also project my reality. So now, if you project what you want to see onto your reality changes dynamic. Now you have a control. Now you're in the driver's seat. You're now active because you're choosing what you want to see. You see, here's the difference. If you're a viewer, you're passive, you're submissive. You only experience everything internal is defined by what you see. But you understand that also projectors. What is it that you need to project? So you have to understand that there's something missing in order for you to project something that you want to see on a reality. What is it? Yes, it's imagination. So the first winning formula is imagination. You need imagination to project something onto your reality. I will explain. For example, if I want to write Jim Carrey right now, what would it be? Jim Carrey. It's pretty good, huh? Cool. So I used my imagination because there's no photo of Jim Carrey. I cannot just look at it. I need to use my imagination, recall a memory, boom, exactly like him. So my imagination is pretty good, and then my drawing skill is also pretty good because I'm very talented and I'm very confident and charismatic. You see what I did? I project what I want to see, how I want to see myself onto my reality. So that's what I see. Because if you become the projector, understanding how to use your own eyes as a projector, you create your reality, project, you view reality. So everything starts within, everything ends within. So that's key number one, use your imagination. So key number two, get with it. So I am such a huge fan of Dave Chappelle, which is a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian, right? And then I was watching his show a couple months ago, or maybe 1 year ago, I don't remember. But in one of his show, he talks about Jim Carrey, right? And then he was saying in his stand-up comedy show that he had a privilege to meet Jim Carrey back in the days, when his early stage of his career. His friend told him, yo, you want to meet Jim Carrey? And Jim Carrey was actually Dave Chappelle's hero. So he was like, I would love to see him. So he went to see him, and then he opened the door, and there was like people around him, and then he got to meet Jim Carrey. But he was in a different character, so he acted completely differently. So Dave Chappelle got really disappointed because I wanted to meet Jim Carrey, not the character that he's playing. But everyone else around him was like, don't call him Jim Carrey, you have to call him Andy. So he had to speak to somebody else, clearly not Jim Carrey. But that was the story from Dave Chappelle. But the why it's so important to understand the story is because you have to get obsessed with it. And that is one of the superpowers that Jim Carrey has. And I believe that a lot of great actors has the skills. They are obsessed with it. And you should never detach yourself. Wait. The Buddhism preaches completely different things, Joe. If you want to manifest, you should detach yourself from it. And then you'll be manifesting. So let's have a look at the monks. Let's have an actual Buddhist, okay? They meditate every single day. They clean their house every single day. They eat very specific food. They don't break the rules. What do you call it? Here's the thing. People are too obsessed with pleasure, distractions, comfortable lifestyle. So they're completely detached from their goal. They're detached from what they want. They're attached, most of the time they're attached, obsessed with their fears, their negative self-talk, low self-esteem, all the bullshit that they tell themselves. They're obsessed with it because that's all you think about all the time, no? That's all you think about 24/7, you're obsessed with it. Monks are obsessed with the teachings. Monks are obsessed with what they actually dedicating themselves to. The discipline, the mental discipline, the meditation, the enlightenment, the emptiness, they're obsessed with it. That's why they can detach themselves from pleasure and having sex and then the material success and all these distractions. The other day I had a conversation on a sales call, and I took my sales call by myself, and this young gentleman, he was a really nice guy, but he was feeling so comfortable. He was really obsessed with his current situation, I can tell, because he was making $10,000 a month. And He's working in a restaurant, it's like comfortable, he likes what he does. He's obsessed with it because it's so comfortable. He binge watch, Netflix and stuff like that, but he's completely detached from his vision, his dreams, is what he wants. So there's no urgency. He doesn't feel like he needs to accomplish it because it's too comfortable. He's attached to the comfortable. And a lot of people actually are attached with this pleasure, chasing girls and parties and external validation that they get from their community, their friend group. So they're obsessed with it. That's all they think about 24/7, isn't it? The people obsessed with their phones and they're detached from reality. So it's one way or another. If you're obsessed with what you want, your success, the goals, and accomplish your dreams and vision, your imagination, you will be detached from all this bullshit that you're currently dealing with. The key number 2 is obsession. You need to get obsessed with it, right? Because otherwise you are, in certain extent, you're obsessed with something else. Choose where you get obsessed with it. Choose where you are detached from it. Now, key number 3, we are moving on to key number 3. The Jim Carrey, one of his interviews, he was saying that he wanted to make his parents proud. He wanted to make his parents feel like they're worthwhile, their life and their existence is worthwhile. And in order for him to achieve that, he needed to be somebody else. He needed to be somebody that they will feel proud, right? So that was his reason. That was his reason why he wanted to achieve something significant. That's why he convinced himself. So he convinced himself that he is worthy and he's worthwhile for his parents, so that his parents can feel worthwhile. And he convinced himself that he's the greatest actor, and he convinced the world later on. And that's what you need. If you cannot even convince yourself that you are amazing and you're confident and then you can make that happen and you can just manifest whatever you want, how do you expect yourself to convince anyone else? How do you expect yourself to convince the world that you can do it? You have to first convince yourself. So the number 3, conviction. You have to convince yourself. And this is the winning formula. If you want to achieve your goal, if you want to manifest something, you have to have these 3. And I remember when I was not using imagination, I was completely oblivious. I was literally a completely oblivious. So I was a byproduct of my reality. The only thing I see is just current reality. There's just nothing there. Nothing proves me that I am my imagination, because I was not using my imagination. I had an imagination. I had a little bit of the image, blurry image of me succeeding and etc. But I was not using my ability, imagination. So I was being viewed, I was in a passenger seat. I was just completely byproducts and no control. I was not creating anything. I was not projecting anything. You have to use imagination to project what you want to see. Now, over the years that I projected certain image of myself using my imagination, so I became one. I became my imagination. That's how you manifest, right? So number 2 is you have to get obsessed with it. You have to get obsessed with your imagination. You have to get obsessed with your goal, with what you want. Because otherwise you might be obsessed with the comfortable couch. You're obsessed with the Netflix that you're watching. You're obsessed with whatever the negative self-talk that you've got in your mind. You're telling yourself you're not good enough. You're comparing yourself to other people. You doing the work, you become your imagination is what you need to accomplish. Becoming who you want to be is the most important part. So he said, one of his actually interviewed, and he was saying that I was feeling pressured and struggling because people think of me in a certain way. But when he did a Truman Show, he felt that expectation. Everybody look and expect me to be a funny, crazy, the guy. But then he broke that. He broke through the ceiling in his internal resistance, is because he understand it was about you. It was about the spark. So he said it was about the spark. It's about who I am. So it's not about what I do and how I do, how well I do. It's about who I am as a person, that something connects with the other people, right? So like it's about you becoming who you want to be. Who you want to be. Do you have any specific image? You got to use imagination. You might use imagination. Who you want to be. What's the spark? Because I became somebody who I wanted to be, and I became very charismatic and influential. That's why I connect with you. I speak to your soul. It's on an energetic level, right? It's not about how knowledgeable I am, or like I'm talking about Jim Carrey and all this cool. It's not about it's a whiteboard. It's about who I am as a person. I am the spark. But you have to first use imagination. You have to get obsessed with what you want instead of getting obsessed with all this bullshit. And fast. And third, you gotta convince yourself. You cannot convince anyone else. You cannot convince the reality. You cannot convince the God and universe if you cannot even convince yourself. Have the conviction. It doesn't matter. You are not a viewer. You're the projector. Use your own eyes the way it's supposed to be. Don't be a passive, submissive slave to the reality and the chaos in the world. Create your imagination. Okay, use these three and then you will create your reality. And then guess what? Even if you fail, even if you couldn't manifest the dream goal, the biggest dream, the biggest ambition, you'll still become a spark. And that's why people say when you regret, you will regret what you didn't do rather than what you will regret what you didn't do more than what you did. Because if you do, even if you couldn't manifest the biggest goal or whatever, like $100,000, $100 million in my bank account, even if you couldn't, you might fall short, a couple $1 million. You become a spark. Or I would have said, if you want to break through the ceiling, if you're feeling stuck right now and you want to get to the next level, and to manifest and create your reality, becoming who you want to be, becoming the person. If you are the rare individual who is willing to invest in yourself, money and time and everything, apply from the link below and let's see if we can work together. And also, I am on my way to manifest 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I will manifest, I know the fact that I manifest. But if you can support me on this journey and give me a like and subscribe and notification bell, and I really appreciate it. And leave a comment if you like what I do. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.